Welcome to the third Changemaker workshop session. We're going to be going over the components of a pitch and really orienting you to developing a pitch and refining your pitch in order to compete in the big idea or to present your idea in the future. So the first piece is really going over the pitch basics. Why are you pitching, especially as it relates to where you are in your business? This is really important just to frame it. If you have a model that you've already created, then that's really kind of telling that you're further along. If you already have customers, then that's really great. It's helpful for the audience and the judges to kind of critique you in your pitch and your business based on where you are. So if you have just come up with this idea, then it's helpful to kind of frame that in the conversation as well around this is a very early stage company or it's later along. So you orient people to what it is you're talking about. The next piece is really connecting with your audience. Who are you speaking to? A lot of times with, Peak Startup, we do a pitch night program. And so this is all about community. So you don't need to go into the nitty gritty of your business model, but you need to let people know how you plan on making money. So pay attention to the different audience types and what they will be looking for as you prepare your pitch and alter it for those different audiences as well. Finally, looking at the components of the pitch. Throughout the workshops, we've been putting together all the main criteria you'll need to build into your pitch. And then when it comes to developing your pitch, it's around how can we best articulate what you're doing in the most simple and clear and compelling ways. Finally, we'll go over in this workshop just some of the design basics to keep in mind as you are creating your deck to make sure that your visuals are helping you and not detracting from what you have to say. So we really think about kind of the startup life cycle. And so you can either be a high growth startup, you can be a small business, a nonprofit, however it is, like I mentioned, you really want to be able to articulate where you are along the journey. So talking about the pitch, there's really 11 main components that I think make a really compelling pitch deck. The first is an introduction to who you are and what is your company. So how can you say this in 10 seconds? What's the problem? What's the solution? And who are you? Those are really good. So go general to specific and how you're describing what your business is or your nonprofit or your venture more broadly. The second piece is to really go into the problem. This is your opportunity to make an emotional connection with your audience as well, because this is an opportunity for you to really articulate, how is this a human problem? How is this the pain point that you're really addressing along for your customer's journey as well? You can weave this into a story, which makes it really compelling as well and sticks in people's mind. Or you can, like I mentioned, connect with your audience in a different way. Visuals are really helpful around this as well. Then what's your solution? That's your next slide. So we're really kind of keeping it, like I said, general to specific. Introduction, quickly, what is it? So you don't leave people guessing. Then you delve into the problem a little further. And then your solution to that problem is your business, your venture, whatever it is that you're presenting around. So this will describe your product briefly, the benefits, how it solves this problem. So this is your chance to really cue people up, get their attention, and get them excited about what you have to present. Keep it brief, keep it simple. You will go into the hows later, but this is really talking about your why and what it is. The next piece is really important around your business model. So we've been working a lot with the business model canvas. This is more around how, out of all of that, are you planning on making money? So it's kind of that revenue structure and the cost structure as well, and justifying this is how I'm going to. So if you're making an app, a lot of times you see a freemium model. So it's free, get people using it, and then you upgrade to a premium model. And then you talk about kind of why you're charging what you are and why you think people will pay that amount of money. So this is a really great opportunity to continually weave in validation, both of your problem, why it's something worth addressing, your solution, why people really want it, and then your business model. As much as you can provide any kind of validation around what your customer thinks, or at large, you can always kind of point to your competition and saying that this is what they are charging and we're gonna do this, and to really justify why you're doing that. But the simpler, the better with the business model. And then finally, you kind of go into this market kind of conversation around how big is the addressable market. So maybe you're starting with, if you have a product that is for pet owners, maybe you start with the dog owners and you say, this is the market I'm going after immediately. And then you say, but as we scale, we're going to go into cats, mini donkeys, all of these other things, and then your market size grows. And so for people who are looking to kind of have a high growth startup and going after venture capital, being able to show that you have a huge addressable market as you scale, but you know where to laser focus in terms of starting your market. That's what this market slide is all about. As I mentioned, validation is really important throughout the whole process and weaving that in, but it's also really important just to have a slide to use as your customer validation so that you show people that you aren't just solving this out of abstract notion that this is what people want, but that you've been proving it along the way. As we've spoken about in some of the other sessions, is that you don't want to put all your resources and time into creating something that nobody wants at the end of it. So the validation slide is really important, and this is to kind of justify why you are continuing to create this. And also it gives you a chance to respond around, this is why we've made maybe the pivots. The customers didn't want to talk about, the dogs, but, we realized that the cat owners are really great people to kind of go after right away. So we pivoted our product and we're going to kind of address that market first. So whatever that story is, you can tell the kind of evolution through validation. But at the end of the day, you really want to make sure that this is something that people actually want. You know how to, get those first customers, and that you already have some good traction. So it's all around showing the traction that you generated through the validation slide. As I mentioned, the kind of how do you actually go to market? How do you get that first customer? That's your next slide as well. So what's your go-to-market strategy? How do you get your first customer? How do you get your first 10 customers? How do you get, your 100,000th customer as well? So what's your plan there? Is it Facebook ads? Is it word of mouth? Whatever it is, this is your chance to really explain that not only that your idea and your solution is going to work, but that you know how to execute it and make sure that there's the product market fit that you're looking for as well. Then we look at competition. Everyone has competition. It doesn't matter if you don't think there's another business. People are already finding alternatives to solve the need that you're really looking at. So this is an opportunity for you to set yourself up and your business to look really well. I think a matrix is a great way to show that. And then as you're looking at it and you get to kind of develop what those criterias are basically on the matrix or however you want to kind of display it visually, but don't bother talking about your competition. Only use this frame as a way to show people you've done your research, you know how hard it is going to be, and you also know what your unique value proposition is. And this is the slide that really allows you to look at that and to present it. Finally, your timeline. So you're here right now, right? You're developing your business, you're gonna go pitch it. What's next? And what does the next year look like? And how is this next year really going to be impactful, right? If you're pitching for the big idea, how would it be if you're in the finals? What's your timeline for the next year? How are you gonna put that initial investment and prize money into good use? And how are you, what are the benchmarks? Is it another pitch competition? Is it developing your MVP? Whatever that is for you, go ahead and share that as well. And then the 10th piece, I think, is the most important one. And it's about your team. It's about you as the company. It's about the people behind the product that you're selling. And this is what is the most compelling piece. Because if we believe in you as people and as a team and you make us trust you and being able to, even if there are some tweaks we think you could make with your business, you're more likely to get investment from your audience, from funders, whatever, because of your team. So this is your chance to really show that you have the great diversity on your team in terms of skill set, and really talk yourselves up as the people who can not only think of this great idea, but execute and make it happen. Finally, an ask. I think it's always really important to have some sort of call to action. If you're making an ask at your pitch, then that's already easy in terms of raising money. But it's also really great to say, hey, would you please try our beta product? Would you refer us to a friend? Ask for a connection or a mentor. It's a really great way to kind of keep people with you throughout. So those are the components of the pitch. The other things to kind of keep in mind is not only what you're saying, but how do you say it? So some general rules of thumb, like I mentioned, go general to specific. Don't leave anyone guessing. Speak to your audiences, what I call like the lizard brain. They're in the back, they're sitting down, they're not super activated, right? They're just kind of listening while your adrenaline is high, you're pitching, your energy is really high, but speak to your audience's lizard brain on that piece, right? So they're just kind of paying attention passively. So those emotional connections that you make, if you can somehow kind of make it extremely important to their survival in any way, shape, or form, whether it's financially, helps them meet their goals, solves that problem that's really been annoying them for a long time, or is addressing a larger global issue that you think they care about as well. This is why you would go general to specific and continue to discuss, this is my problem, this is my solution, and continue to make that fit in that case throughout, talking about your validation. So the repetition can be really helpful here. But even more so, visuals are processed 60,000 times faster than text. So when you're looking at your slides, how can you create a visual that's really provocative and helps keep people along with what you're saying and kind of engage on that emotional level as well? Finally, when it comes to kind of structuring what you have to say, leveraging the power of storytelling is essential. You can keep it simple, make it relatable, and use humor if that's a gift that you have. But be careful with that too. It can be extremely powerful, but it can also not pan out well as well. So use the power of storytelling, whether it's talking about your customer and taking people through their journey throughout the whole pitch, your own personal story and why you care about what you're doing. But those are the pieces that people are really gonna latch onto because our minds as humans remember stories better. One piece around storytelling is reminding yourself who is the true hero of your story. And it might not be what you think it is, right? So you have a character, he or she has a problem that they're trying to fix. They meet a guide who gives them a plan and then calls them to action, which either results into failure or success. So that's the general kind of arc of this story. And you can look at Clear Brand for the story kind of context framework as well around this. But really what it's looking like is if you think about Star Wars, to use the example, the character is probably Luke Skywalker, right? Has a problem. He meets a guide who is Yoda, who then helps give him that plan. And then it takes him through that journey, right? A lot of businesses and founders that I see think of themselves as the hero of the story, but that's actually not the right way to address your audience. The hero of your story is your customer, and you are the guide who's giving them a plan to be successful in their lives. So keep that framework in mind as you develop what the story is and how you develop your pitch as well. The final piece of the pitch, once you have all the content, you know how to structure what you're going to say, how you're going to say it. The next piece is creating the visual deck that will support what you're trying to say. So I have a few tips and tricks. There are really great resources online in terms of being able to develop, your pitch deck as well if you aren't graphically design inclined. But a few things to really keep in mind is that when you're talking about or you're thinking about developing your pitch deck, the simpler, the better. This is not there to distract people. It's there to support what you're already saying. So you don't need to read the slides. Keep the text really simple if you're going to have any. And again, simplicity, you only need one visual maybe instead of 10 pictures on a slide, things like that. So think through that. Keep it short. Don't give people a reason to tune out and ignore you. If you kind of keep your slide deck too long or there's too much going on, you'll lose their attention because there's not enough to focus on. Pick a few colors. You don't need to go crazy with all the different ones. Think of what, even if you aren't developed enough with your business to have a clear brand, give yourself some brand guidelines, at least for the pitch deck. So pick maybe 3 colors that you use and kind of be consistent with that use. The size matters, and so keep that into account in how you're kind of layering the text on your pitch deck as well. So if you have, make sure that the main point is the biggest one, that any supporting kind of words or whatever can either be encompassed in your script and what you actually say, or a kind of smaller text as well. So those are the kind of high-level tips when it comes to designing your own pitch deck. But otherwise, good luck, and we're excited to see what you come up with.